The Isle of Shifting Shadows. The dusty attic of his grandmother's cottage held secrets that 12-year-old Corvus had never imagined. As autumn rain drummed against the shutters of Light's End, he carefully unrolled the ancient parchment he'd discovered hidden beneath loose floorboards. The scroll was made of leather, so old it felt like dried leaves, and its edges were decorated with intricate symbols that seemed to shimmer in the lamplight. "A map," he whispered, tracing the faded ink with his finger. At the center of the parchment was an island shaped like a crescent moon, surrounded by smaller islets. Strange markings dotted the coastline, and 3 X's marked different locations across the landmass. But it was the inscription at the bottom that made his heart race. Isle of Shifting Shadows, where virtue becomes treasure, and seekers find more than gold. That night, Corvus could barely sleep. By dawn, he had convinced his reluctant parents to let him join old Captain Henrik's fishing expedition, which would pass near the mysterious coordinates marked on the map. ... His grandmother's final words echoed in his mind as he boarded the weathered vessel. "Sometimes, child, the greatest adventures begin when we're brave enough to follow our curiosity." The Isle of Shifting Shadows emerged from the morning mist like something born from dreams. Towering emerald forests crowned its peaks, while pristine beaches curved around secluded coves. The waterfalls cascaded down cliff faces, creating rainbows in the spray. But there was something else, an otherworldly quality to the light itself, as if the very air shimmered with magic. "I'll return for you at sunset," Captain Henrik called as Corvus waded ashore. "Mind yourself, lad. This place has a reputation for changing people." Corvus's first challenge came immediately. As he consulted his map, he noticed that the landmarks seemed to shift when he wasn't looking directly at them. A grove of palm trees would be on his left, then somehow appear on his right. Rocky outcroppings rearranged themselves like puzzle pieces when his attention wandered. "On the shadows," he murmured, remembering the island's name. "They're actually moving." Following the map's first clue, he trekked toward the center of the island, where ancient stone pillars jutted from the earth like fingers reaching toward the sky. The largest pillar bore an inscription in weathered script: "Follow where shadows flicker, in the heart of night." As daylight faded, Corvus discovered what the riddle meant. In the darkness, phosphorescent creatures emerged. Panthers with coats that glowed like starlight, birds whose songs created visible streams of silver in the air, and flowers that bloomed only in moonbeams. Their light created dancing patterns of shadow and illumination that pointed toward a hidden cave behind the waterfall. Inside the cavern, an elaborate mosaic decorated the walls, depicting scenes of ancient adventurers facing various trials. At its center, new words appeared as if written by an invisible hand. "Where growth is stunted, the key lies buried deep." The second clue led Corvus to a barren plateau where nothing grew except twisted, gnarled trees that seemed frozen in time. For hours, he searched among the stunted vegetation until he noticed one tree whose roots formed an unusual pattern. Hidden in a crevice was an ornate brass key, green with age. The key unlocked a weathered chest buried beneath the largest dead tree. Inside, wrapped in oiled cloth, was another scroll. This one bore the final riddle. "The final clue lies within you. Seek knowledge, and your answers will be revealed." Frustrated but determined, Corvus made camp for the night. As he sat by his small fire, watching the magical creatures of the island move through the darkness, he began to understand. The treasure wasn't meant to be found by one person alone. The island was teaching him something about the nature of true adventure. At dawn, his suspicions were confirmed. 3 other young explorers emerged from the forest. Maya, a clever girl from the neighboring village who had deciphered similar clues. Jin, a quiet boy whose knowledge of ancient languages had brought him here. And Zara, an athletic teenager whose courage had carried her through the island's outer defenses. "We all found pieces of the same puzzle," Maya explained as they compared their discoveries. "But none of us could solve it alone." Together, they retraced Corvus's steps, and the island seemed to respond to their collaboration. The shifting shadows stabilized, revealing a hidden path that led to a series of underground tunnels. The passages formed a labyrinth that would have been impossible for any single person to navigate, but by working together, Maya's logic, Jin's translations, Zara's physical skills, and Corvus's intuition, they found their way forward. The tunnels were filled with challenges that tested each of their strengths. Quicksand pits that required Zara's rope-climbing skills to escape. Ancient mechanisms that needed Jin's linguistic abilities to operate. Logic puzzles that only Maya's analytical mind could solve. And moments of pure instinct where Corvus's connection to the island's magic guided them past hidden dangers. "Look," Jin called out as they rounded a corner. The final chamber. The treasure room was breathtaking. A natural cathedral with walls of crystalline stone that captured and reflected light in impossible pattern. At its center stood a statue of an ancient figure, hands outstretched, and eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. As they approached, the statue spoke, its voice echoing from everywhere and nowhere. "Welcome, seekers. You have passed the trials, not as individuals, but as companions. The treasure you seek was never gold or jewels, but the virtues you have discovered within yourselves and each other." The statue's hands opened, revealing 3 glowing orbs. The first pulsed with golden light, wisdom gained through facing the unknown. The second blazed with silver fire, courage found in supporting one another. The third shimmered with all colors at once, friendship forged through shared adventure. "These gifts are not for keeping, but for sharing," the statue continued. "Carry them back to your world, and let their light guide others to their own adventures." As each of them touched the orbs, Corvus felt a surge of understanding. The real treasure had been the journey itself, the moment he'd chosen to follow his curiosity, the challenges that had pushed him beyond his comfort zone, and especially the friends who had joined him along the way. The island's magic guided them safely back to the shore, where Captain Henrik waited with a knowing smile. "Found what you were looking for, did you?" "More than we expected," Corvus replied, looking at his new friends as they boarded the boat. On the voyage home, they planned how to use their adventure to inspire others. Maya would start an exploration club at school. Jin would translate more ancient texts to uncover other mysteries. Zara planned to teach younger children about courage and teamwork. And Corvus would write down their story, ensuring that the lessons of the Isle of Shifting Shadows would live on. Back in Light's End, their return caused quite a stir. But the real magic wasn't in their tale of adventure. It was in how their experience changed them, and through them, their entire community. The wisdom, courage, and friendship they had discovered became contagious, inspiring others to seek their own adventures and face their own challenges. Years later, when other young people found mysterious maps or heard whispers of hidden treasures, they would seek out Corvus and his friends for guidance. And they would always hear the same advice: the greatest treasure isn't what you find at the end of your journey. It's who you become along the way and the friends who walk beside you. The Isle of Shifting Shadows remained on maps for those who knew how to look for it, waiting for the next group of adventurers, brave enough to discover that the most valuable treasures were the ones that couldn't be kept in a chest, but had to be shared with the world. And in the quiet moments before sleep, Corvus would sometimes see the phosphorescent panthers in his dreams, their starlight coats reminding him that magic was real, not in distant islands or ancient artifacts, but in the courage to begin an adventure and the wisdom to know that the best journeys are never taken alone. Act 2.